Ladies and gentlemen, is about to be bananas. Now, I consider myself to be an avid banana consumer, as I've enjoyed the fruit for as long as I can remember. Today, I hope to educate you on bananas as a whole, touching on their origin, their health benefits, and taking a dive into the dark history of bananas within Latin America. Now, I wanted to begin by taking a small survey to gauge the popularity of bananas, so I asked 16 of my close friends and family just to respond to the question of whether they do or do not like bananas. Out of the 16, 13 said that they do like bananas, equating to roughly 81% of my participants enjoying bananas. The popularity of bananas is further substantiated by the fact that in the United States of America, bananas are the most popular fruit, being more popular than both oranges and apples combined. And in 2016, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the global banana industry produced $8 billion worth of profit that year. And furthermore, in 2017, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations reported that 114 million metric tons of bananas were produced that year. And out of all of these bananas, they are composed primarily of one individual species, that being the Cavendish species of banana. This is the variety of banana that can be found at any supermarket across the U.S. Now, it is not as well known that there are over 1,000 species of bananas worldwide. And initially, before the 1960s, the Gros Michel was the most popular banana worldwide. And that was until Panama disease, a type of fungus, wiped the banana out nearly to extinction. And at that point, the Cavendish became the main variety. Now, the popularity of bananas didn't appear overnight. It began in the 1870s once refrigeration technology improved to a point where bananas could survive their long journeys by boat across the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean from places such as Latin America, Asia, and Africa. Now to move on to the origin of bananas. Bananas are believed to have originated in Southeast Asia and southern Pacific Islands. And sometime around 8,000 to 5,000 BCE, bananas were first cultivated by island nations such as Papua New Guinea and the Philippines. And from there, they spread further into Asia, places such as India, and they even made it to the Americas well before European settlers, as Polynesians brought them across the Pacific. Now, the health benefits of bananas are fairly obvious. First, of course, being potassium. They are also very high in fiber and high in vitamin C, and they are low in sugar, low in fat, and they are full of antioxidants, and they contain all 9 essential amino acids. Now to move on to the dark history of bananas within Latin America. I will be talking about the banana republics, and not the trendy and fashionable apparel store, but 3 companies that basically were the governments of countries within Latin America. The first of these companies was Coyamel, which was primarily located in Guatemala with some plantations in Honduras. Next is United Fruit Co., which was based in Guatemala, and Standard Fruit Co., which was based in Honduras. And Standard Fruit Co. was actually the first of these 3 companies to have refrigerated transport. Now, these companies ran awful conditions with their workers working long hours in the blistering heat for barely enough pay to feed their own families. And in 1910, the first ray of hope showed up for the Honduran people when the people elected a new president who wanted to introduce minimum wage and just infrastructure improvements to the country just to improve the lives of his people as a whole. And it was in 1914 that he decided to help facilitate competition between Standard Fruit Co. and Coyamel. And this was done by giving 1/3 of Coyamel's fields to Standard Fruit, as Coyamel had the majority of the fields within Honduras. Now, this angered Samuel Zemurray, who was the CEO of Coyamel, and he becomes a key player within the history of the banana republics. This angered Samuel Zemurray so much that he decided to go talk to the previous president of Honduras, who wasn't too happy about losing his seat of power, and ask if he wanted it back. So Samuel Zemurray used his massive banana wealth to buy a private army and overthrow the Honduran government and reinstate the former president. And at this point, he retained his banana fields so he could keep making his banana bucks and keep presenting awful conditions for all of his workers. It wasn't until 1929 that the next large event happened, and that is when Standard Fruit Co. acquired Coyamel. And somehow through this merger, Samuel Zemurray maintains his position as CEO of the now 2 merged companies and continues making his banana wealth. And it wasn't until 1944 that the next major event happens, and that is that the Guatemalan government had their first democratic election where their new president was elected. This president introduced minimum wage, universal suffrage, and he was building roads and schools and just overall infrastructure improvements for his nation. And this was beginning to cut into the profit of Standard Fruit Co., which led to Zemurray traveling to the United States to have a meeting with current acting president Dwight D. Eisenhower. And he convinced Eisenhower that this progressive and democratically elected leader was in fact a communist, which led to the United States sending the CIA into Guatemala and overthrowing the government and instating a far-right dictatorship. This dictatorship was in power from 1954 until 1996, only recently. And these companies, for all their horrible actions, it'd be hard to imagine that they are still operating today. But in fact, they are. United Fruit Co. is now under the name of Chiquita Bananas, and Standard Fruit Co. has become Dole Fruit Company. So these awful tyrannical companies that ran entire governments are now household names. And ultimately, although bananas are a delicious and healthy snack, unfortunately, the history of their production in Latin America is one full of strife that still affects Latin America to this day. Thank you.